Manager Pat Murphy talks on his shortstop.
Joey looked great. Again, the kid's been through a lot. His defense has been fantastic, but we got to follow it up. It was a great job. We know it's in there. Let's keep going. I'm really proud of him.
Last night also saw starting pitcher Brandon Sproat pick up his first victory of his career, striking out 6 along 3 runs over 5 1/3 innings of work. Christian Yelich also returned. Yelich talks on getting him, Vaughn, and Cheerio back in the lineup.
Yeah, we haven't really been too healthy all year, so it's kind of nice that we got a lot of the guys back and got a lot of the season left to play. So got to keep playing well, and hopefully that starts today.
The Brewers now sit 23-16 on the year, 2.5 games below the Cubs for first place in the NL Central. Back at it tonight at American Family Field. First pitch against the Padres will be at 6:40.
For nearly 40 years, ABC Wisconsin Apprenticeship has been helping men and women transform themselves into highly skilled trade professionals. These skills are in demand and provide strong wages and benefits for a bright future. If you're a hands-on person who likes the feeling when you get projects done, apprenticeship could be for you. Go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online, ABC of Wisconsin.
The University of Wisconsin will have a 9-person search committee to help select Wisconsin's new athletic director, funded by Indianapolis Colts GM Chris Ballard and 2-time NBA All-Star Michael Finley. They expect the position to be filled by summer. And finally, the Green Bay Packers will begin OTAs May 26th, with mandatory minicamp starting on June 9th and ending on the 11th. The NFL is set to release their full schedule tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
The NFL announced this morning they are officially exploring a Thanksgiving Eve football game, maybe as early as this year. So their conquest for having an NFL game on every single day of the week is, close to complete. We're just missing Tuesday and Friday now. What do you think about this situation, and what more can you tell us?
Actually, I don't think we're going to be missing those days. I think you get football all the days, because if that does happen, and by the way, the NFL doesn't say it's exploring without it actually acting. So when the NFL says it's exploring a Thanksgiving Eve NFL game, the NFL is going to have a Thanksgiving Eve NFL game. Okay? Like, that's going to happen.
Hydrating to eating meals to the recovery. I feel really confident with our plan and what we're going to do. And, the circumstances are the circumstances, but it's the same for both teams.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Adam Schefter, and I believe that's Ty Schmidt from the McAfee Show. That was a couple of weeks ago when there were first rumors, hey, the NFL, they could put a Wednesday night game before Thanksgiving. And I thought that analysis from Adam Schefter was smart and clearly correct, because we learned today that the Packers are going to be playing that Wednesday night game before Thanksgiving. I want to start tonight's show. Little Packers news. The schedule is starting to drip out. We have the international slate, which is something I want to talk about. I want to actually tie the international slate together with this Packers game, the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, being on Netflix, kind of a special event in the same way that those international games feel like special events put on by the NFL to grow the game, or to reach for a new day or a new television slot, or to put the game on a new net, something like that. I kind of view them in the same bucket. So that's where I want to start tonight. We won't stay there for the whole show. I want to start with Packers, but we'll get to the Brewers. They've won their 5th game in a row. They're putting a good charge on the Cubs. They've won 9 of 12. It's funny. We spent the last week or two, and maybe this is a miss by me. This is a mistake by me. But we've spent the last week saying, well, when are the Brewers going to go on a run? I keep saying, when are they going to win, 8 of 10 or 11 of 50? Well, they've kind of done it. As we've talked about, when are they going to do it? They're kind of doing it right now. Things are really coming together for this team. Nice win last night. Brandon Sproat going into the 6th. And Joey Ortiz hitting a home run, as predicted yesterday on the show. Everyone give a round of applause to Cone Roller. And I saw he posted the bet slip on Twitter last night, too. Made like $160 off that. So shout out to Cone for nailing the prediction. I saw a lot of tweets about that last night. So we'll talk Brewers. We'll talk about their recent good play. And this week, as I pointed out last night, I think is huge. They got a tough series against the Padres. And then who do they got? The Twins this weekend. And then starting Monday night, they're at Wrigley, where the Cubs have played really, really well. The Cubs lost again. The Brewers are heating up. This should be a really interesting week for the Brewers early on in the season as the NL Central kind of develops. And we approach Memorial Day. when we can start looking at the standings. Jesse Temple will also be here at 5:30. So we'll talk Badgers, get the latest on the AD search and some other dribs and drabs of, certain Badgers offseason news, recruiting things, what he's covering at Badger Connect, that sort of thing. I'll take your calls throughout 608-321-1670, the live stream. Jump in. It's fun. You can see my ugly mug and interact in the chat. I see Kinger in there. Yo, Kinger, a morning show caller. I miss you, Kinger. I haven't been in the studio when you've called in recently. I was in the studio this morning, the final hour of the show of Over the Line. Wish I wasn't, because Ebo microwaved fish this morning like a jackass. Stunk up the whole building. Ebo, bad guy for that, by the way. A bad guy. Microwaving fish. It smelled like the zoo in our break room. So, Kinger, long story short, I have not been in the morning show. Nice to see you over in the live stream, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and on that very handy Wisco Sports Zone app. So we learned today, it was announced by the Packers and by Netflix, that their Week 12 matchup will be against the Rams Wednesday night, November 25th, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, 7 o'clock in Los Angeles, and it will be on Netflix. Netflix. Okay. So the NFL now expanding to Wednesday. This is, by the way, I believe one of 2 Netflix games this year. They have 2 games, and they're both, interestingly, I guess the Packers is on Wednesday. Now, the other Netflix game is on, is it Wednesday or Thursday? It's on Thursday. It's on Wednesday, or is it on Friday? It's in Australia, so the day is a little different. So the Packers game is on Wednesday. The Niners-Rams game that's also on Netflix is on Thursday, but in essence, it almost feels like a Wednesday game, because to accommodate the actual opener, which is, of course, the Super Bowl champion, they've scooted that game to Wednesday, so Netflix could have their game on Thursday. So it almost spiritually feels like Netflix has 2 Wednesday games this year. That's their whole slate. And if you're a media nerd, I think it's interesting. Ted Sarandos, who's the Netflix guy, was on Fox Business the other day. I was reading about it a little bit earlier today. I'm not going to act like I'm some media scholar, but the Netflix strategy is pretty clear. They don't want a full season package like Amazon is paying for the Thursday night package. We don't want a Sunday night package or, a limited, like, it's not like Netflix bought out all the international games. Netflix, like they have done with other sports, we want big events. We want Thanksgiving Eve, and we want the Thursday night game in Australia. And it'll be big, and it'll be a special presentation, and it'll be unlike anything else. And that'll be it. We're going all in. We're pushing all in on big events. And I saw Joe Pompliano today, who covers sports and business, tweeted, Netflix has doubled down on its special event sports strategy, paying up for big events rather than focusing on the total quantity of games. Bloomberg estimates that this NFL package could cost about $500 million, which is 2.5% of Netflix's $20 billion content budget this year. Isn't that nuts? So Netflix is paying for 2 games. 2, that's it. And it's not the Thursday night package. They're paying $500 million to broadcast 2 games. Wednesday night game before Thanksgiving and Thursday night in the opening week, which again, to me, almost spiritually feels like a Wednesday night game, because as a result of Netflix getting the Australia game, they kicked the actual opener to Wednesday. So they bought one Wednesday game and created another. 2 unique games, one on a unique spot in Arizona and the other in a brand new time slot where the NFL, to my knowledge, has never played a game before. I don't think they played a Wednesday night game before Thanksgiving. I know in COVID, they had like some weird Tuesday and Wednesday games that were delayed. Health and safety protocols, et cetera. So again, long story short, the Packers are playing Week 12 Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. And I'm not going to get into, well, and we also know that in Week 10, they're playing here. And I'm not going to try to like MacGyver this thing together. We'll react to the entire schedule when it comes out. I just want to talk about this game and how I feel about it. Now, I think it's our first instinct and our first response to just hate things like this. You know what I mean? Oh, what? They're going to play on Wednesday? Well, that sucks. That blows. I don't like that. That's new. I don't like that. Oh, it's on Netflix? Well, that's stupid. That's dumb. That's always our instinct, right? I think the internet has driven us to just bitch about everything. Like this new Christopher Nolan movie, The Odyssey, that's coming out. Either we live in a massive Twitter bubble, which could be true, or everyone has just decided that this movie's going to blow. Because that's what we do. We see a trailer for a movie. Looks like it's going to suck. Oh, Christopher Nolan has announced that Lupita Nyong'o has been cast as Helen of Troy. Oh, that's stupid. Why? That sucks. I'm going to hate that. Like we just decide up front that we're going to hate these things and that it sucks. I think a lot of people, our instinct to the Packers playing on Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, dumb, stupid, hate it, blows. And then the international slate was announced fully. And I think of these two things kind of in the same bucket. The Packers playing on a Wednesday night and a bunch of teams playing in other countries. It's the NFL reaching to find a new audience, to be broadcast on a new platform, to make more money in some way by reaching to a novel market or a novel platform, something like that. So there's going to be 9 international games, the Wednesday or the Thursday night game in Australia that I mentioned. That will be on 9/11 in Australia, September 11th. Terrible day for a game. Reminds me of that tragedy, September 10th in the U.S. Rio de Janeiro, week 3. That'll be Ravens, Cowboys. Then the London slate will be weeks 4, 5, and 6. That'll be Colts, Commanders, Eagles, Jags, and Texans, Jags. It's funny that the NFL's like, we're expanding. We want to send better teams over there. But the Jags, you're again, multiple times you're going to go over there. They have the Paris, France game. They're playing at Stade de France. The Steelers and the Saints. That's in week 7. The Madrid game in España. That's at Bernabeu Stadium, maybe. How that's pronounced. Bengals Falcons. There's the Munich game. The Patriots, they played there a couple years ago too. I think maybe the Patriots have a little bit of a foothold over in Germany. I think at the end of the Belichick era, they played a game over there. They'll play at Bayern Munich Stadium against the Lions. All right, divisional game. I'll watch that one, and I'll probably watch the Mexico City game too at Estadio Banorte, which I googled. That's a bank, I guess. I'm always interested to see, like, in other countries, are these stadiums sponsored? Are they named for someone famous? Or are they named, I'm always curious. And that week 11 will be the final international game between the Vikings and the Niners. That'll be interesting. Division rival, NFC rival. So there's 9 international games. And now the Packers, we've learned, are playing the Wednesday before Thanksgiving on Netflix. And I think, as I said, our reaction to all of these games, stupid, dumb, hate it. There are too many international games. Wednesday night, too much football. Games on Netflix? I don't have Netflix. What about the bar owners? How are they going to get the games on? And look, if you don't have Netflix, that sucks. I don't have Netflix, so that's going to be annoying. And it's probably a pain in the neck for the people who own a bar. And by the way, the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, pretty big bar night in the state of Wisconsin. Like, that's not nothing. And the early morning games, and do you have NFL Network, and do you want to get up? Like, I understand that these games are inconvenient to many. I don't have a problem with them. I'm not going to get pissed that the Packers are playing on a Wednesday night, and I'm not going to get pissed that they're sending 9 games overseas. My criticism was a little different. My frustration is it's slightly different. I'm frustrated and I'm annoyed by this stuff because I know it's not going to stop. And this is what I talked about with Bill earlier today, if you listen to the midday show too. I'm not against the NFL sending a game to Australia, and I'm not against the NFL sending a game to Mexico City. I'm not against, in a vacuum, the NFL having 9 international games. What annoys me, or what kind of makes me roll my eyes or hang my head a little bit, is I know it's not stopping here. I know it's going to keep going. Why? Because a couple of years ago, they only played in London. And then they added a Munich game. And now there's games in South America. And now there's not just games in, where did the Packers play again? I can never remember. Now this new game is in Rio. Why can I not remember the city in Brazil where the Packers played? Doesn't matter. Now they're playing in a different city. Now they've expanded to Australia. So if you were to tell me, hey, Grant, going forward, the NFL will have 9 international games a year between Australia, South America, and Europe, and maybe in Mexico, I'd say, okay, that's not the end of the world. Weeks 1 through 11, it's not very fine. That's stomachable. Sao Paulo. Thank you, Kinger, on the live stream. That's where the Packers and Eagles played. I'm not against a Wednesday night game in a vacuum. I'm not against 9 international games. I'm annoyed or I'm frustrated because I know it's not going to stop. It's going to keep going. I would bet dollars to donuts that in 2 years or 3 years, or shoot, maybe next year, that the NFL is going to have a game in Mumbai, India. Why? because there's a bajillion trillion people in India, and that's a massive market. And I know that in a year or 2 or 3, there'll be a game in Tokyo. Why? Because there's a million, bajillion, trillion people in Tokyo and in Japan, and that's more money for the NFL. At some point, they'll put a game, I don't know, they'll put a game in Cape Town. It's not going to stop. The NFL's never going to get to a place where it's like, we got a pretty good international footprint. That's good. Let's stop there. That's not happening. No. The NFL's not going to get to a place where it's like, 9 international guys. Boys, does that seem, everyone in the meeting room, Park Avenue, New York, it seemed like a pretty good play. Yeah, we got 9. That seems like a good number, huh? Yeah. All right, 9. Everyone good with 9? All right, let's pack it up. We had a good run. Like, no, they're going to continue to expand. Saudi Arabia, Mumbai, Tokyo, Cape Town. I mean, they're already hitting some of the mass. I mean, Mexico City is one of the most packed places on the planet. We never talk about Mexico City as one of these massive cities. But watch Tokyo, Mumbai, Hong Kong, Beijing. I don't know how many people live in Cape Town, but that's the big city in Africa that comes to mind. I'm sure there's one that's bigger that I'm just forgetting. They're going to keep going. And the more they keep going, the more this whole thing just starts to feel like a parody of itself. It starts to lose the old-timey, historical, rich feeling that the NFL has always had, going back to, NFL films in the 60s and the 70s, with John Facenda and The Autumn Wind is a Raider. Like, I feel like my team and the games that my team plays, the Packers at Lambeau, is connected. It's all threaded together with this rich history of this great league. And the more that we send games to Johannesburg or Mumbai or wherever, we're losing that tether just a little bit. And it starts to feel like a globalist, just big time venture capital money grab, which it is. But up until this point, like it still felt like the sports league that my dad has always watched, that my grandpa's always watched, that my great-grandpa always watched. We still have that tether, but with every country we send games to, it feels so hackneyed. It feels like a parody of itself. And similar to the Packers playing Wednesday night on Thanksgiving. Again, in a vacuum, I'm not against it, but I know they're not stopping there. That eventually we're going to get a Tuesday night game. You know what I mean? And then we have games every day of the week. So at that point, why not stack them up? Let's have a doubleheader the night before Thanksgiving. Let's have a doubleheader on Friday. We have games on Amazon, and we have games on Netflix, and we have games on Peacock. And because we're forced to in 2026, I'll accept it. Bend over, spread cheeks, receive. You will get all of these streaming services. You will get Peacocked and Paramounted and Amazon Prime. You'll get primed. And in a vacuum, I'll accept that because I have no choice, but I know they're not stopping. I know they're not. This will keep going because it's keeping going right now. We're watching it little by little. So not to sound like panic, slippery slope guy. It's not the slipperiest slope, but it is a slope and it's slick. It's a slick slope. So 9 international games. Okay, fine. Well, I guess that's not so bad. Well, next year it'll be 10 or 11. And the 17-game schedule is going to go to 18. And that's a nice round number. The NFL will stop there. Yeah. Just like they stopped with London and Mexico City. No, eventually, now we want 20 games. And it's just going to keep going. And eventually, we're going to lose this tether. We're going to lose this tapestry of tradition, again, that feels like it goes back to the 60s or for the Packers, even farther back, because it does. But the more we ship these games out and the more that this league just becomes such an obvious money grab, the more we lose that. And I was watching that interview that President Trump did on, I can't remember what platform it was. It was like some 60 Minutes type thing, but it wasn't 60 Minutes. Because the NFL is getting investigated or whatever by a congressional hearing. Nothing will happen. It's posturing, probably because Rupert Murdoch and these other legacy media partners are leaning on Trump like, hey, these streamers are porking us. Can you do something about it? And Trump's like, all right, we'll do a congressional hearing. And Trump, one of the quotes in this interview that he gave, on top of rambling about the new kickoff, which is like, if you're allowed to find a politician funny, which I know some of, like, we can't all, but it is funny that Trump will not drop the new kickoff. Trump, what do you think about, uprising costs for Americans watching their favorite team? Well, I think it's sad. I think it's bad. And God knows they've ruined the kickoff. Such a. But Trump said in this interview, there's one line that stuck out to me in that interview that he did, where he said, the NFL makes a lot of money. They could stand to make a little less so more people could watch their team. And I'm like, we're so close to getting it. There it is. Because no company like the NFL is ever going to decide that's enough money. And that's why this international slate, and that's why the Packers playing on a Wednesday, it's just another step towards this being and I don't even say globalist, ironically, to the globalization and the complete monetization of the NFL. I've ranted about this too long. If you have something to add, I'll take your call after this. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Three minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back, Wisco Sports Show. Jesse Temple in 1 hour. We'll talk Badgers. We'll get into the Brewers 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. We'll see how many calls and how long this Packers and NFL schedule conversation goes. I want to make sure everyone has a chance to get in. We got loaded phone lines, so just keep your comments to a minute or two. I just want to be able to get to everyone. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, it's the old Clemhead. How you doing?
Oh, the old Clemhead. You're
The
not
old
that old.
Clemhead,
The wise Clemhead. What's going on?
69 is the new 60.
I agree.
I couldn't agree with you more about this global saturation. It's not going to end. It's you've heard of the boiling frog syndrome, where you put the frog in a nice cool pan of water and it sits there content, and you turn on the heat and it warms up gradually, and then all of a sudden it's too hot and it's dead. How you throw that frog in that hot pot, it would jump right out. See, we've had the boiling frog syndrome for how long? I remember watching games only at noon.
Yeah.
And when I was young, and once in a while you'd have a 3:00 game, but really rarely. But then Monday Night Football came along. I watched the first Monday Night Football game ever. You're right though. Eventually we're going to have football every night of the week. We're going to have 162 games a year. I'm just kidding, but it's so much for players' health and safety. They're going to make it. By the time I might be gone by then, but in your lifetime, they'll probably have 24 game schedule. I'm serious.
Clemhead, it's such a nice round number. That's what they've said about 18.
Yeah.
It's such a nice round number. It's like, what does that even mean? What does that mean? The ball is shaped like a lima bean. Like, it's not a round sport. It's chaotic.
People like round numbers because, round numbers are good because 8 games at home, 8 games on the road. Round numbers are better.
Sure.
But I know it's going to gradually increase, and you're right. They're going to have games all over the freaking planet, and eventually one day, hopefully not, but one day a plane will crash and we'll lose a football team, and then the outrage will be great, and wailing and gnashing of teeth and rending of garments, and we'll all say, "Why did we do this?" So, or a terrorist attack at a stadium. I'm serious. I'm not even kidding.
So there is that. Someone needs to, I guess, confront that. Clemhead, I appreciate we just got loaded phone lines. I don't know. I don't know about that last thing. I guess I don't know what to add to that, Clement, because we're gonna leave that there. I have nothing to add to that. It's just, you said, well, I used to watch games at noon and that's it. Look, I like noon, 3:00 Sunday night, Monday night, and Thursday night. That's fine. And on special days, sure. But it just gets to the point where, like, hey, I'll sacrifice my Sunday to watch football. I will. I'll watch noon, 3:00 Sunday night. I'll spend my whole Sunday watching football. You start putting a game in the morning, like, probably not. Probably not. Like, I'm going to go outside and touch grass. I'm going to go to the grocery store. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go. Wisconsin in the fall is really nice. So I'm not going to watch all the games. People will. They'll pull numbers because we love football. But I think it affects my viewership habits from going, I need to watch everything, to, okay, well, I'll watch the normal slate, but I'm probably jumping off for some of these other games. Line number 2, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
What are we mad about? We're mad about too much football?
I am mad about the globalist push from the NFL that is slowly severing the rich tapestry of history that connects my current team to teams of yesteryear. I think it's sports radio. Let me be mad.
I think I'm not going to come at you for being mad. I just want to make sure I'm clear on what we're mad about. And I think we're taking way too narrow of a scope, right? We used to get news, Grant, like once every couple months when somebody ran from Athens to Sparta,
sure,
right? And then it accelerated. Eventually we got to the town square. Maybe you were hearing the news, some guy yelling through a microphone, every week or so, after church, once Catholicism spread throughout Europe. And then we got this thing called the newspaper, and all of a sudden you got kind of weekly, bi-weekly, daily delivery of news. Now we get news delivered to us via Elon Musk's, side project every 10 minutes. So I think the NFL is more reflecting the way human consumption of information has changed over time, and less so, you can take the corporate greed part of it, sure, but that's true of every bit of information. And I'll tell you this, if I'm forced to pay attention to the news, or if my dad's going to send me a random text message about the Strait of Hormuz 7 days a week, I am glad to have football to distract me from the Strait of Hormuz every day, every waking hour of the news cycle. So if we're forced to live in a world where we have a 24-hour news cycle, we're forced everywhere, all the things all at once, or whatever that movie's called, right? If we're going to have that all around us, I'm happy to have football mixed in as much as possible. So I think that's where I stand. Maybe a little bit different from you, but, mix in sports that matter, unlike fake sports like baseball, as much as possible, please.
Not a bad take. Like, if the entire world is going to speed up and cost more and, kind of murder our attention spans and chunk our attention up into little digestible, monetizable bites. If the whole world's going like that, well, we might as well have football along for the ride. I actually like that take. You know what I mean? But I also think Vagabond John, and this is probably a pipe dream, I think we still need some things in our society that slow us down a bit. And I think football being once a week or just, looser put, there's days and nights without football. I think that's good for us. We need things that's why I like HBO shows. Watch them when they come out live. It's once a week. That's why I like watching Survivor. It's once a week. We need those things that slow us down a little bit. I want it all now. Well, guess what? Sometimes that's not how life works. And that shouldn't be how our brain operates because it's bad for our brains. And I think football and the scheduling of football traditionally, I think it's good for us. But that's a different thing. I understand that's like my own point of view on just the state of things and less football adapting and changing with our technology and with the way the world works, to your point. And I don't disagree, Vagabond John. If the whole world is going to speed up and cost more and spread around, we might as well have football along for the ride. I like that take. That's a good way of looking at it. Line 3, and then we'll do one more and take a break. Let's go Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, this is Nathan in Viroqua.
Hey, Nathan, what's going on?
Not much. How'd you like golfing?
Beautiful course, man. A beautiful town. Hit the farmer's market in the morning. Got some thing. I love your town. Love the golf course.
Nice. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. So, the NFL keeps talking about player safety. We keep hearing about that, and that seems to be something that they keep driving. Obviously, with more games, they are really proving that they don't care about player safety. And then my thinking is all right, well, we've had 53 men on a team, 48 active for game day. At what point does that number go up? Because if you can only have 53 on your team, and then do they go back to maybe 8, 9 rounds in the draft? Because they're going to need more players because players are going to keep getting hurt. That's all I got for you. I'll be quiet and listen here. Thanks.
Good call, Nathan. I agree. Everyone references player safety. I want the league to encourage and take measures for teams to be as healthy as possible because it makes the games better. I don't like watching games when all of the good players are hurt. It's not good for fantasy. It's not good for betting. It's just not good for the product. So I am with you that I want the league to take measures to keep teams healthy. 2 thumbs up from me. I also think we need to recognize that it is an inherently violent game and guys are going to get hurt. So sometimes there will be a team that just gets hit really hard with injuries. And in some of those instances, we can't look at big bad Roger Goodell and say, I thought you were about player safety. It's like, well, they do the best they can, but it's a violent game. And if the players' salaries are going to keep going up and it's going to, if the players want to keep making more money, some of these things are necessary. Now, in all things in life, a balance. That's what I would like. I would like a balance. So I'm all about player safety. That should be a focus. But we also just got to realize that guys are going to get hurt because it's football. And football players hit the snot out of each other. Now, playing on a Sunday and then a Wednesday or a Thursday and then a Wednesday, you look sideways a little bit at that. But if a team only has to do it once a year, I'm not going to clutch my pearls over that. I'm not someone who thinks Thursday night football is a scourge because once a year a team has a quick turnaround. I think football on Thursday is a good thing. I think one game in the middle of the week, I think it's good. And if every team just has to do it once a year, I'm okay with the sacrifice of those guys maybe needing to rehab a little harder. It's a violent game. Guys will get hurt. This call, and then we got time for 2 more here. It's only 4:33. Wisco Sports Show. Who's that?
Good afternoon, Grant. This is Badger Bloody Reviews.
Badger Bloody, I referenced you last night because I saw you were hiking at beautiful Perot State Park. Now, I don't know if you stayed overnight, but if you did, I hope you at least considered staying at beautiful Inn on the River, right down the river from beautiful Perot State Park.
I was just about to thank you for the shout out, and I would encourage anyone listening who has not explored that area to go check it out because, oh my goodness, it is absolutely stunning. Unfortunately, it was just a day trip, so I was not fortunate enough to check out either Inn on the River or Sullivan Supper Club.
Oh.
But I promise you, they have been added to the list, and I will be returning for an overnight and checking out one or both of those fine establishments.
Excellent, Badger Bloody. Well, and try the Bloody Marys. I've never had one Trempealeau Hotel or at Sullivan, so you'd have to let me know. What do you think today?
I got one at the Trempealeau Hotel. I tried reviewing it. However, there was an issue with my camera operator, my girlfriend, who happened to hit the end button about halfway through, much to my displeasure. I just about threw the rest of the drink at her. The ice cubes were too big. I felt like that was probably not the right move. But yeah, I did attempt to review a Bloody Mary.
You have to go back, I guess. Good. Shame.
I know, right? Yeah. Just an excuse to go back. I would like to kind of give my thoughts on the whole international games situation. I saw a tweet that was retweeted by our friend, the powerful Bart Winkler, who was speaking of Blackout Wednesday, did invent Blackout Wednesday, and he'll be the first to tell you that.
He will tell you that.
And the tweet was something talking about the expansion of the NCAA tournament, and the person was basically saying all of these things that people like are going to keep getting worse simply because we have no power to prevent that. And even though most people who are fans, I think, and I count myself as one, are against the expansion of the NCAA tournament. And, you know, a lot of football fans are probably against more international games, or they're against football games being played on odd nights of the week, right? And you have to ask yourself at a certain point, who is this for? And it's not for us. It's not for the fans. It's certainly not for the players, because I think if you did an anonymous poll of NFL players, the vast majority, first of all, they don't like Thursday Night Football in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like that more games are being added to the schedule. They certainly don't like being forced because of their job to go overseas and play these games on what a lot of the time seems to be really questionable surfaces, you know, the turf or the grass or whatever they're playing on. And I think this is just an unfortunate symptom of, you know, the globalist society and the economy that we live in, where even though the vast majority of participants or consumers of a product might be against something, we are going to continue getting it shoved down our throat. And, oh, yeah, we're going to have to pay more for it in perpetuity.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, is it at least going to cost less? No. It's
not.
No, it's not. Badger Bloody, I got to get to one more call. Can we talk more later this week? I promise.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
Appreciate it. I just want to get to one more before break here. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, is it going to cost less? No, absolutely not. No. It will cost more. Bend over, spread cheeks, and receive. One more call here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. How we looking? I'm okay with more international games. You know, I might not be, you know, the cheerleader for them, but I don't really have a problem. Like, we've always complained about this Brewers season and how many off days we've had, and they play pretty much every day. So, like, I don't really see how NFL viewing is much different from that.
That's true.
Plus, baseball's a summer sport. Summer's way more fun, especially in the state of Wisconsin. So, you know, sitting at home in the frigid November air and watching a football game every night, you know, it doesn't sound too bad to me. I think this is good for the players. You know, they can moan and complain all they want about safety and quick turnarounds, but, you know, these streaming deals come with a lot of money, and that money is definitely going to the players. I mean, just look at how much these players are making these days. So
Yep.
I don't think they can be too upset.
That's the other thing. The money's going to the players. It's the same in the NBA. It's like, well, we don't want to play as many games. It's like, well, Jaylen Brown makes like $60 million a year. So, and you know, he's far from the best player in basketball. So like, that's kind of how it goes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't want to do more work, but I want to get paid more. It's not really the way of the world, Cone.
Yeah. And you know, these international games too, like, they don't really change how we view them at home. Sure, the times might be different, you know, kickoff times, whatever. But you know, we all gotta manage time zones. You know, unannounced to Matt LaFleur, it's not that hard.
I was gonna say, hey, tip of the cap. Twitter was singing your praises last night because you called Joey Ortiz's home run.
Yeah, that was crazy. Pockets are a little heavier today too. I don't know what it was. Just had a feeling that he was going yard, and I wasn't even watching the game. I got the notification on my phone, and you know, had to check to make sure it was real. Just crazy.
That's outstanding. And Spro went into the 6. Your guy, the Spro goat. Shout out to Cone. You do an excellent job. People were singing your praises as if not the best, one of the best callers to this program. So the Brewers won last night. I think you also won, Cone.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy for Joey. You know, Murph said it perfectly. The dugout felt like they hit a walk-off for a Joey Ortiz, third inning home run on a random Tuesday in, you know, May. So that really shows what this team thinks of Joey Ortiz. It definitely gave a little Make-A-Wish energy.
Yeah, just a little. I appreciate it, Cone. I got to run. Have a good run. All right. It's going to make I didn't hear that comment from Murphy. Maybe we'll get to that. We do have a little Brewers news. Let's get into that next. I'll continue to take your calls on this, but I got to go to break. We'll be right back.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, going to get to some text here in a minute. Little Brewers breaking news. Yelich isn't in the lineup tonight because his back has flared up, apparently, according to Pat Murphy. More on that as we talk Brewers to begin hour number 2. Again, your Packers and NFL schedule-related thoughts via the text line here in just a minute, but I want to take one call here in the meantime. Thank you for sitting through the break. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. How you doing, man?
Denny and Holman. Denny,
yes, sir.
I thought I saw you. Good God. So we played at Alpine a couple weeks ago, Friday night, and
how did they go?
Well, 2 or 3 men walked in, and each guy that came in, I'm like, that's Denny, and oh, not quite. Like, you had a couple doppelgangers there. I got excited.
Yeah.
I was maybe looking forward to possibly seeing you, but it went well.
Well, I am too. I want to make it to one of your shows that you guys have because I thought you had more of them, but you don't. You know.
Well, we're pretty exclusive. Well, we're so expensive to book. That's the thing. Very few places can actually afford us.
So, hey, I think somebody better talk Clement Mike off the ledge, man. I haven't heard him this distraught in a long time.
What was he distraught about? This was like 6 calls ago. Remind me.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, but he was distraught about, maybe there'll be a jet that'll crash and then all the football team will get. It's like, wait a minute, dude.
I tried to skirt past that because I didn't have much to add other than a terrorist act at a crowd. I don't know that we need to go beyond our borders to find that, but whatever. I wanted to move past it. Yes, Denny, go ahead.
So I know I told you this and I told Bill it. I feel this way. I feel all sports are coming to pay-per-view. We're going to end up paying for our Packers. We're going to end up paying for the whole 9 yards, And it's like every time they take a game away, like last year it was a gold game. They took away from the fans of Green Bay, This year it's a green game they're taking away, And it's so many times they're doing this, and it's hurting the Packers, their attendance and it's hurting, everything at home as well when they do this.
So I don't know. I guess I don't know what you mean, Denny, about the green and the gold game. Appreciate it. Here's another thing. Appreciate the call, Denny. We'll talk more very soon. I don't know what you mean by the green and gold game. The Packers are going to have 9 home games this year. And I think with no international game, and yeah, they got to play on a Wednesday, but okay, they're not playing Thanksgiving in Detroit, which is a tough spot. They're not opening up on the road against the defending Super Bowl champions. This Packers schedule should be pretty manageable in that it doesn't have any really, really difficult spots. You don't got to go to Japan or Australia. You don't got to go to Thanksgiving. You don't have to, you don't have to go into a game where like you're the opponent for the main event. So I think that sets an interesting standard and expectation for Matt LaFleur. I thought Aaron Nagler wrote a really good piece on this at Cheesehead TV. We'll do that in the final segment of the hour, but I do want to get to some of these texts. People are talking about the gold pack. What are you talking about? They're not. They didn't lose any home games this year. So you're saying, well, they took away the gold package. They took away the green package. What are you talking about? They didn't lose a home game this year. So the Wednesday night game is like that's on Netflix, but that's in Los Angeles. So why does it always have to come back to the green package, gold package, green package, gold package? Most of the crowds at Lambeau suck no matter which package it is. Sorry. Brad in Sturgeon Bay on the idea that Ebo microwaved fish today in the break room because he's a bad guy. That's why he did that. And he didn't do it at 3 p.m. when normal people eat lunch. He did it at 7:45. I came in this morning and go, what in God? It smelled like the penguin exhibit. I would never forget that. It's such a foundational smell in my life. We go to Como Zoo and I'd be little. I'd like looking at the penguins, but it smelled like urine. I'm looking around the break. What is that? And then I came into the studio and the belly of the beast. Gordon Lacrosse. If Major League Baseball does have a lockout next year and a salary cap is implemented, would that include all the minor league teams? Gordon, I don't know. And I don't mean to, it's just not in any world what we're talking about. So we'll probably discuss that at some point. I'm going to skip past it. Todd from Appleton makes a good point. Says, can we assume that if we're playing on Wednesday, that the week before will be either a Thursday or a bye week? Yes, I would imagine. I'm not going to try to piece it together right now. I think I might have seen earlier today that they have a week 11 bye, but here's what I'm not going to do, folks. I'm not going to piecemeal the schedule. I'm not going to say, well, we know that week 8 they're playing the Lions, but we don't know where, and then week 14 we know they're playing at US Bank. Like I'm not doing the scavenger hunt. I'm just going to react to it when it comes out. But this Wednesday night game is interesting enough to talk about just in a vacuum. But yes, the week before they'll either have a bye or on Thursday night. I would think they'd rather play on Thursday night to preserve the bye when they actually get a full 2 weeks, because if they go bye week into a Wednesday night game, they're only getting a week and a half, which kind of neuters the bye week a little bit, which I'm sure we'll hear about from Matt LaFleur, Reader in Madtown. I don't think the international games have as much to do with growing the popularity of football as much as it's just to make people watch from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sundays instead of just noon to 10. I think the grow the game narrative is just a cover up. None of these countries care about the NFL. I don't know that none of the other countries care. I'm not going to act like I'm familiar with the demographics of Spain. But it is interesting. It's like, well, how do we get people to watch 9 to 10 a.m.? Well, let's just put a game in another time zone. Interesting. I don't know. Rock and Rick says they already fly coast to coast, correct? Grainman Mike says round things off with football is easy, and I think that's what the NFL is shooting for. 17 weeks, 16 out-of-country games. Each team plays 8 home games, 8 away games. Probably. It's just going to keep going and going and going. J.A. Krebs. I hate these texts, but I'll read it. I just changed my YouTube TV to go to cheaper and canceled all my other subscriptions, saved about $80 a month. It's gotten out of control. Yes, it has. I'm not anytime this comes up on Sports Talk Radio, you just get a string of calls. It's like, actually, you should get one of those shadow boxes or whatever that has everything. Yeah, my buddy has one of those, and it's great. You can watch every Major League Baseball team and there's every porn channel. Like, it's everything on there. I don't know why I mentioned the second thing. It's just, you whip through the guide and you notice that it's there. Brandon and Altoona from the gold package and green package of season tickets is what the caller meant. Still don't know. Still don't know what you're referring to with green and gold. I still don't know. It has nothing to do with this for me. We'll come back. Little Packers breaking news. And what was the other Brewers breaking news? What was the other? Oh, the Aaron Nagler story. I wanted to read you a little bit from that because I think it encapsulates what we know about the schedule so well so far. So we'll do that to wrap up the first hour, and then we'll talk Brewers at 5 o'clock.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Radio Network.
Wisconsin weather doesn't ease into spring. It keeps you guessing. That's why your windows and doors need to handle everything. At Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, we build for year-round comfort. Get the look you want for the home you love with 0% financing options available. So you can upgrade now and pay over time. Plus, enjoy a free in-home consultation, expert installation, and a 10-year limited warranty. Schedule today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. It's 5/31/2026.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
So Brewers breaking news, Christian Yelich not in the lineup tonight. His back's sore.
Great.
It's funny, there was a funny moment on the radio broadcast last night, I believe in his second at bat, where Josh Mauer is talking about Yelich's return and said, Yelich didn't go on a rehab assignment, but Pat Murphy says, we trust this guy. Swing and a miss, and Yelich strikes out. The timing of radio broadcasts always funny. I want to read from you a little bit from Aaron Nagler. He says at She Said TV, no excuses for the Packers in 2026. 9 home games, no international games, no excuses. Says the NFL season is a grind by design. Travel wears teams down, disrupted sleep, altered schedule practices, long flights, weird recovery windows. It all adds up over 17 games. Just ask teams forced to surrender a home date for an international showcase while dealing with the logistical circus that comes from crossing multiple time zones. The Packers, none of that. 9 games at Lambeau means 9 opportunities to leverage what should be one of the league's true home field advantages. Keyword should. And Aaron knows that, but I get what he's saying. Packers fans will pack that place as always, and for a team with legitimate championship aspirations, protecting home turf has to be non-negotiable. Split on the road if you must, but dominate at home and put yourself squarely in position for January football. Let's be clear. Good, Aaron. I love this. Let's be clear. Squeaking into the wild card game this season is unacceptable. Brian Gutekunst pushed his chips in when he traded for Micah Parsons. The Packers doubled down on contention by reshaping the coaching staff, bringing in Jonathan Gannon to run the defense and continuing to build around Jordan Love and a young offensive core that should now be entering its prime. This is a team built to compete right now. Fair or not, the pressure sits squarely on Matt LaFleur. He has the quarterback, the roster, the extra home game, and a schedule free of international disruption. Expectations aren't theoretical. Good coaching gets you into the playoffs. Great coaching gets you a deep run and a chance at playing in the Super Bowl, which is why the division conversation matters. The NFC North is a street fight. Detroit has established itself as a tough, formidable foe. Minnesota remains dangerous. Chicago has seemingly found their coach and quarterback after decades of wandering in the NFL wilderness. Winning this division won't happen by accident. LaFleur's divisional counterparts are excellent coaches. But if you're the Packers, what more could you ask for from a scheduling standpoint? No passport, no neutral site sacrifice, no built-in travel disadvantage, extra home game, and familiar routines. Doesn't guarantee anything, of course. The NFL doesn't hand out Lombardis in May, but expectations should absolutely rise. This isn't a season where they're young works as cover. It's not a year where fatigue from brutal travel can explain a late season fade. The Packers have talent. They have offensive continuity. They have quarterback stability, and now they have schedule fortune. If Green Bay falls short of winning the North, fair questions will follow. If they fail to make a deep playoff run, those questions get louder because with this year's schedule, the runway is clear. Good, Nagler. Good piece. Cheesehead TV. I saw a couple of retweets of that today. I'm like, good. Like Aaron laying it out. No international travel. You have 9 true home games. Now, they'll probably, they got to go Wednesday night. They got to play before Thanksgiving. That'll be a short week, but it'll be mitigated by either a bye or a Thursday night game the week before. If you look at travel miles, I saw this posted by Adam Schefter. The Niners are first at 38,000. The Packers, in terms of miles traveled for games this year, the Packers are 28th at 12,000. The only teams that travel fewer miles are the Bears at 10,000 and the Panthers at 8,000. They don't have to travel far, and they don't have to go to friggin' Brazil. Rise your expectations accordingly. Aaron Nagler approves. If he approves, then yeah, we can raise our expectations. Hour 2 next. We'll get the update from Evo first.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Joe would homer for the first time in nearly 10 months and 5 in 2 runs as the Brewers would win their 5th straight, defeating the Padres at American Family Field last night 6-4. Last night also saw starting pitcher Brandon Sproat pick up his first victory of his career, striking out 6 along 3 runs over 5 1/3 innings of work. Christian Yelich also returned. Yelly talks on getting him, Vaughn, and Cheerio back in the lineup.
Yeah, we haven't really been too healthy all year, so it's kind of nice that we got a lot of the guys back and got a lot of the season left to play. So got to keep playing well, and hopefully that starts today.
Manager Pat Murphy also talked in their injury woes.
Obviously, when any team has their 3 of their top 5 hitters out, it makes it tough. We played some games with four of our top 5 hitters out. It's difficult. It's half your team. Like I said, other guys step up and nobody's going to feel sorry for you. So I'm proud that we withstood that. And now hopefully we get some games under Yelly's belt and get him back in a groove.
It'll be Brewers and Padres again tonight from American Family Field. First pitch, 6:40.
For nearly 40 years, ABC Wisconsin Apprenticeship has been helping men and women transform themselves into highly skilled trade professionals. These skills are in demand and provide strong wages and benefits for a bright future. If you're a hands-on person who likes the feeling when you get projects done, apprenticeship could be for you. Go to buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
The University of Wisconsin will have a 9-person search committee to help select Wisconsin's new athletic director, fronted by Indianapolis Colts GM Chris Ballard and 2-time NBA All-Star Michael Finley. They expect the position to be filled by summer. And finally, the Green Bay Packers will begin OTAs May 26th, with mandatory minicamp starting on June 9th and ending on the 11th. The NFL is set to release their full schedule tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
You'll look up, and that would be 5 in a row for them, 8 of their last 11 against some pretty good teams. And I think it would just be a little bit frustrating that the Cubs have stacked up 2 10-game win streaks, basically almost right next to each other. And they would only be 2.5 games up if the Brewers hold on. And I just think it's a really good reminder of what this season is about. This season is about finding a way to beat those guys. And the Cardinals are a nice story. Cincinnati has some fun talent. Pittsburgh is young and hungry. But it always is going to come down to those guys.
Pitching staff, it doesn't go unnoticed. You got Harrison, never been a full-time guy in the big leagues. You got Chad Patrick, first time in the pen. DL Hall emerging as a leverage guy, and what Ashby's done is amazing. So,
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Folks, Sam Over, Locked On Cubs podcast. I was listening to his latest episode earlier today because saw he did a little segment, some of which you heard right there, about don't look now, but the Brewers look like the Brewers. And as I tweeted last night, at Wisco Grant, the negativity will continue, but don't look now, folks. The Milwaukee Brewers have won 9 of 12. We've talked about the Brewers here to start hour number 2. Jesse Temple in a half hour. The show tonight presented by La Crosse Beer House. Beautiful downtown La Crosse, corner of 3rd and Pearl. And I don't know if you've looked at the temperatures for this weekend, folks, but I think it's going to be pretty good weather to kick around in the afternoon while the sun is shining. Get a nice mug of ice cold, delicious, authentic German beer. I like the Hefeweizen. Can't recommend it enough. Go down there, get a burger, get some wings, get a fish fry on Friday night as the weekend's getting started. It's the perfect place right there in the heart of downtown La Crosse, right at the crossroads even. Pearl, 3rd Street, bang, that's like Holmgren and Lombardi or wherever. I'm bad for not knowing the address of Lambeau, whatever corner that is. 3rd Street, downtown La Crosse. Appreciate La Crosse Beer House and their support for the show. And as I will say, one state track this year, State Track La Crosse. When's that coming up? I know a lot of you from all corners of the state. Well, it's early June 5th and 6th. I know a lot of you from all corners of the state are going to be headed to La Crosse and getting food and drink to celebrate little Johnny or little Jane and the local 4x1 relay. I can't recommend La Crosse Beer House enough. I mean, flip side as well. There's a couple great places that I would appreciate you enjoying, but especially if you're going to kick around downtown, down by the river and down on 3rd Street, please. La Crosse Beer House, corner of 3rd and Pearl. It's funny, we've spent the last 2 weeks, I've spent the last 2 weeks mostly asking and wondering and pleading with our baseball team to go on a little bit of a tear. And as I was watching last night's game, I kind of was looking at, recent results, and I'm like, wait, son of a bitch, they're kind of doing it. They've won 9 of 12, including 5 in a row. And it was very enjoyable last night to watch. What inning was that? The 4th inning, where they were stringing hits together. They batted around, Christian Yelich making what I believe the first and the last out of the inning. That's a tremendous yin and yang. And the first out of the inning was Christian Yelich striking out. And I wish I would have clipped the radio broadcast. I'm kicking myself now. But at the time I was listening, and and Josh Mauer is talking about how, Christian Yelich came back without a rehab assignment. And I know that's unusual, and he missed a while, but we talked to Pat Murphy, and here's a guy that they trust to come back without a rehab assignment. And there's a swing and a miss, and Yelich strikes out. And he's out of the lineup tonight because his back hurts. Okay, go figure. But it was the 4th inning last night where they felt very Brewer-ish. This was the blow-by-blow, if you weren't paying attention. Yelich strikeout. Contreras double, Bowers walk, Mitchell single. Garrett Mitchell, God bless the kid. He doesn't hit the ball often, but when he does, he hits it hard, and he hit it too hard because he didn't give Bowers and Contreras time to get around. Luckily, Sal Frelick came up and hit a ball into left field so softly that Mauer on the radio call just assumed the bat was broken. Oh, no. Oh, no. He just did it that soft, but it was actually in that spot a good thing because it took forever to roll out to the left fielder, which gave Bowers and Contreras time to score. Hamilton with a bunt single. Again, David Hamilton looks a little bit better in this offense, right? With some actual hitters who can do some things. Ortiz almost hitting a grand slam, sac fly, Terang double down the line, Churio infield single. And Yelich, I'm mocking him. Actually put a pretty good swing on the ball, but it was lined to the track, I believe, in right. Hit it pretty hard, but it turned out to be an out. This Brewers team is all of the sudden really starting to play consistent, good baseball. And Brandon Sproat, again, God bless him last night. I wanted to pull my hair out listening to him in what was either the 3rd or the 4th, but you can see the stuff. He's just learning to be a pitcher. I think that's the best way I can describe Brandon Sproat. If someone were to ask me, like, we're going to have Sam Olber, our guy Locked on Cubs. I'll play a little bit more audio from his podcast here in a sec, but he's going to be on the show on Monday. We'll preview Brewers Cubs. And if Sam were to ask me, so what's Brandon Sproat's deal? What's this guy all about? I'd say, well, the stuff is nasty. All the pitches, all the tools. He's great. He's got to figure out the pitching thing. Sequencing pitches, continuing his control, not losing his grip, not, throwing balls to the backstop. I guess that's kind of become an issue for him, where it's like he gets the first 2 outs and then he starts spraying the ball all over the batter's box. It's a little bit of a problem. The first, second, third inning can be great. Wheels fall off in the 4th. How do you, minimize the damage of the wheels falling off? And then how do you put the wheels back on in the 5th or even to come out into the 6th? Per Cone Roller's prediction, by the way. I think he's taking steps, and I'm always just curious to see what Pat Murphy says after Brandon Sproat goes out there, because I think the Brewers have a certain way they're viewing him, and it might be different than the way Brewers fans view him. We've talked about this. We talked probably too much Brandon Sproat last week when I was in for Bill. It's like, oh, we're doing another Brandon Sproat segment. But I think the Brewers probably view him more positively, and they probably view him with a little bit more optimism, and they're probably looking for little pieces of growth and progression that are probably a little bit more nuanced than we can say and see at home. But here's Pat Murphy talking about Brandon Sproat's first win last night. I think the Brewers are probably higher on him than most Brewers fans are, especially when we're watching him throw the ball to the backstop. He essentially last night, if you missed the 4th inning, this is what happened. So single, strikeout, fielder's choice, walk, wild pitch, moves them both over, and then he gives up a single with 2 outs. So it was really 2 outs he had no business giving up. He put himself in a pickle. Here's Pat Murphy.
It is nice. Yeah, I think it does. I mean, of course it does. I mean, these guys, it's like, scoring a touchdown. Sometimes it's because the offense moved you all the way down the field and the offensive lineman blocked and they just handed it to you and you went 2 yards. But it does feel good that you scored. And I think that's, in Sproat's case, he needed to get that off. out of the way. That's his first. Guys are celebrating him in there.
I like the analogy, right? Catching a touchdown doesn't mean you're having a great season as a wide receiver. Could mean the offense moved you down and you caught a 1-yard touchdown. Brandon Sproat, I think, earned a win and navigated that start better than some of his recent starts. And if you're wondering, is Pat Murphy doing his postgame presser inside of a barn fan? Yes, you are correct. That's why it sounds like that. He must be. Did someone put a barn fan in his office?
Nice. Yeah, I think it does. I mean, of course it does. Yeah, these guys.
608-321-1670 if you want to join and talk Brewers. The rest of the week looks really interesting for Milwaukee. I pointed this out yesterday. There's a time to go on a run. This week lines up really nicely. Now, the Padres are a tough opponent, and last night was certainly a big win. So if you're able to scrape either tonight or tomorrow, I'll take a series win against San Diego. Minnesota is Minnesota. It's funny because every time I watch Minnesota, I'm always left thinking, man, this Matt Wallner guy sucks. And I looked up strikeout rates today because Jeff Levering was on, and him and Bill were talking about how the Brewers strike out, I think, the third least of any team in baseball. And in my head, when they're discussing this, I'm like, well, that's pretty crazy considering Garrett Mitchell has to strike out at the highest rate in the league. And I looked that up. And Garrett Mitchell, the highest strikeout percentage in the league, second being Matt Wallner, who's like, that's just my experience watching the Twins. But back to my point, the Brewers win 2 or 3 from the Padres. If they can get 2 or 3 from the Twins, then you line up on Monday night going into Chicago the way you'd want it. You'd have Mizorowski and Harrison game 1 and game 2. Now, the Cubs have been the balls at Wrigley. So that's a challenge. In fact, I want to check the standings because I want their home and away because it is that stark. I think there's something like 18-5 or something at home. It's crazy. Yeah, the Cubs, they're 18-5 at home, 9-10 away. So the home field for the Cubs is huge. My point is the Cubs have 2 10-game winning streaks, basically back-to-back, and the Brewers are 2.5 back, and hopefully they continue to build and apply pressure this week, and hopefully it comes to a head on Monday night at Wrigley. Here's a little bit more of our Cubs counterpart, Sam Olber, the Locked On Cubs podcast, talking about how, the Brewers are very much still the team to beat in this division.
We've got to figure out a way to take care of them. They are the standard in this division. They have proven without a shadow of a doubt that as of right now, they are a better organization than you. And you cannot say that you're better than them until you prove it.
I love how the Brewers have one good week and Sam's like, damn it, they're right there. Here's a little bit more from Sam. This is funny audio to me.
As the great Ric Flair says, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo!
I'm going to pause it. I don't know Sam's background. I don't think he's ever worked in radio. I don't know that there's another podcaster in the world whose voice and cadence I get more of a kick out of. Like Bukowski, good Lord. The Packers match up with the Giants this week. We'll talk about it on Locked On Packers. It's like, I don't know why Sam talks like this. Makes me laugh.
As the great Ric Flair says, to be the man, you gotta beat the man.
Woo!
And the man in the NL Central is the Milwaukee Brewers. Yes. In the National League, it's the Dodgers, but you can't skip steps, folks. It bothers me, actually, when I hear Matt, when I hear myself, when I hear other people start talking about the Dodgers or talking about the Braves. We need to remind ourselves what we're going up against. We have not taken care of these guys since the 2017 season, and we have not proven with Craig Counsell, with PCA, with Shota Imanaga, Matthew Boyd, Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson. We have not proven that over 162, we're a better baseball team than them. And I'm tired of it.
Again, I just get a kick out of Sam, man.
As the great Ric Flair says,
in
to
order
be
to
the man, you gotta beat the man.
Woo! The Cubs, by the way, over the last 3 games, and this is something I pointed out to Bill the other day when we're talking about the difference between the Brewers and the Cubs. The Cubs are a feast and famine team unlike any that I've seen. And it's not just baseball. I understand there's hot stretches and cold stretches in baseball. I understand that. I get it. The Cubs under Craig Counsell have been a lot more volatile. They either look like the greatest baseball team on planet Earth offensively, or you're like, do they have a single good hitter? And it's never in between. It's either every hitter in the lineup is mashing or the whole operation goes completely dark. They have 8 hits in their last 3 games. Just turned off the lights, left the building after that winning streak. I don't get it. And maybe there's a Craig Counsell thing. I don't know. I think maybe it's some young, unpolished, unproven hitters. Like Ballesteros is a great hitter, but I know he's still young. He's slumping a little bit. Nico Horner not being as hot as the surface of the Suns probably hurt their lineup. Ian Happ probably coming back down to earth a little bit. I know his average isn't great, but he's been really productive. I don't understand the Cubs. They have a 10-game winning streak, and then over the last 3, it's like, you can hit the ball, right? They have 8 hits in their last 3 games. And the Brewers just building a little momentum, building a little juice, punching in the right direction, and have very quietly won 5 in a row and 9 of 12. It kind of snuck up on me in the fact that, like, last night when I felt like I needed to tweet something, I was like, wait, they've won 9 of 12. I feel like I've been asking for the last 2 weeks, when are they going to win 9 of 12? Now they have. Bobby in Menominee says Sam Olber sounds like Corey Provis, the original Levering. I need to go back and listen to Corey Provis with the Twins now. I think Grindle and Levering sound similar. And can I say something here on the can I admit to something on this program? It's maybe just because I'm in a good mood tonight. I've been enjoying the show. Maybe it's because the Brewers won 5 in a row. I have started to enjoy Josh Mauer. I've started to enjoy Josh Mauer. He's never really been my favorite. It's not that he's bad. Just Levering's really good. I really like Grindle. As the third radio voice, or the second radio voice, because Levering does a lot of TV. As the last man on the bench, I'm starting to. He's got a niche. He's very different. I swear, when they hired Josh Mauer, they're like, well, we can't get another guy that sounds like Grindle and Levering, so they got a guy who sounds very different. Kind of digging. And also, Bark in the Park night is just a rich opportunity for grade A BSing in the booth. Dog puns and dog jokes and nicknames. We're going to take a break. Oh, one text. Joe in Minneapolis. Yeah, bro. Talk your S. I'm getting my broom out to sweep your sorry ass. Matt Wallner does suck, though. We agree there. I don't know why, Matt. There's never been a more random person to catch such a fat stray on this show than there has been Matt Wallner of the Minnesota Twins. Jesse Temple in about 15 minutes. Come back and kind of hit at some of the let's say, potpourri, some of the random things that we've already hit today. And plenty of time for your calls if you want to jump on. 608-321-1670. Be right back.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
As the great Ric Flair says, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo! And the man in the NL Central is the Milwaukee Brewers. Yes, in the National League, it's the Dodgers, but you can't skip steps, folks. It bothers me, actually, when I hear Matt, when I hear myself, when I hear other people start talking about the Dodgers or talking about the Braves. We need to remind ourselves what we're going up against. We have not taken care of these guys since the 2017 season. And we have not proven with Craig Counsell, with PCA, with Shota Imanaga, Matthew Boyd, Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson. We have not proven that over 162, we're a better baseball team than them. And I'm tired of it.
And I'm tired of it. Soundbite of the night one more time from Sam Olver. Locked on Cubs. Brewers Cubs starts Monday. Sam will be on the show. Brewers can win the series against Padres. Don't need a sweep. Let's get 2 of these 3. Get 2 or 3 from the Twins. Put pressure on the Cubs and see if you can't go into Wrigley and play spoiler with the rotation lining up the way you'd want. It would be Miz and Harrison Monday, Tuesday, I believe, if I'm looking at the probables correctly. Just see if you can't get into Wrigley and break the trend. Cubs are 18-5 Wrigley Field. And I think that ballpark has played to their advantage and their strength this year in that I think with some of their starting pitching injuries, the ballpark has held the ball on nights where they've needed it to. And then on other nights when it's home run derby time, the offense has been able to pop in those nights. And I think a big part of the Cubs' struggles last year was when the wind was blowing out, they couldn't hit to save their lives. And then when the wind was blowing in, they're like, all right, now we want to smash. It's like, well, but not tonight's not the now it's going to go for naught. Now it's going to be a waste. If you want to join us, have a little bit more time here, 608-321-1670. We talked a little bit about the Packers news of the day, which is they're going to play a Wednesday night game before Thanksgiving, which I don't hate any of these things individually. Like, I don't hate that they added an Australia game to the schedule. I don't hate that they're playing in Mexico City. Like, these things individually in a vacuum do not bother me. It's more so that this is all another step in a continued trend where we're expanding, more days, more countries, more platforms, more subscriptions, more money for us to pay to watch these games. It's that. And with every step we take towards more countries and more platforms and more days, I feel like we lose a little bit of the tether that makes this league and this game feel so rich and historical. Like, this is the same game that was played by Bart Starr and John Facenda's voice. The autumn wind is a raider. I can't do his voice. And the NFL films, with every game we send to Melbourne, Australia, we lose a little bit of that, and I don't like it. Here's a piece of sound I cut from Pro Football Talk. It's Mike Florio just throwing out a hypothetical that kind of gets at the exact type of thing I'm talking about here. It's a specific situation, but it fits into this conversation.
I had a reader/viewer raise this question the other day because there's been some reporting while you were gone about the 28 draft is likely going to be in Minnesota. They may award the 29 draft to Cincinnati. Would they ever put the draft in London? Now, the time would be an issue because it would start at 1 a.m. local time Friday morning to fit into our 8 p.m. Eastern time window. But if you want to spread the virus, if you want to hook a lot of people, if you want to create an event where you get a lot of folks just milling about and checking it out and trying to find out what this is all about, it makes more sense to do that than send the Super Bowl to another country.
Yeah, at least that's maybe the better test market, right? Yeah, for at least first, test it out that way.
So this is what I'm saying. 9 international games, okay. But my stomach turns because I know it's not going to stop. We're going to have a game in Mumbai, and then we're going to have a game in Johannesburg, and then we're going to have a game in Tokyo. It's just going to keep going, and it cheapens the product. It cheapens it doesn't cheapen. It makes it more expensive for us. Cheapens the experience, but it makes the actual cost to watch the games more expensive. 608-321-1670. Let's take a call here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, hey, Tony from Texas. You're right on the money on this one again. You look at that point with the stadiums and the Netflix and all these streaming services. I saw a poll, name the top 10 stadiums, and I saw AT&T and all these generic stadiums up there. I'm like, there are it's basically any kind of shrines in the NFL anymore. It's like Lambeau and what else? Arrowhead?
I guess.
Seattle's kind of cool. I've been there.
Seattle's cool. Seattle's unique. It's not historical, but that feels unique. But a lot of these stadiums, you're right, I've ranted about this countless times. It's just, they're convention centers, man. Like, they host football games, but they're built to be able to host other events. So they don't feel as special. They don't feel as football-y.
Not only that, the fact, I know you're on a budget all the time, Grant, but look at these McDonald's.
What is that supposed to mean?
All these different, you're always you're on a budget. I get it. But these fast food restaurants, they're all look the same. They all got this like square brown look to them. I look at Burger King. I look at McDonald's. They all look the same, just like these baseball stadiums or football stadiums. It's just crazy. And, you mentioned about the Brewers announcer. Is this guy better than Lisa Byington? I got to know because I haven't heard him.
Josh Mauer?
Yeah. Can you compare? You're an announcer. You're in the field. Come on.
Not really. Very different sport, different gender, different delivery. I don't know. It's also a matter of taste.
Okay. Fair enough, Grant.
Are you looking to me to slander either one of them? Is that what you're getting at here?
No, I was just curious. I'm just curious. I've never heard her announce before, but
that's not true.
Any predictions on the UW? Any predictions on the UW who the AD will be? That's an interesting Ballard and Michael Finley, who I was a big Michael Finley fan back in the day with the Badgers and the Mavs. No prediction?
So those two are on the search committee. I have no prediction, Tony. We're actually going to talk about this in the next segment with Jesse Temple. I've seen some radio stations posit that Chris Ballard is going to Dick Cheney his way into being the athletic director. And very brief conversations that I've had with those in the know find these takes laughable. So it's not going to be Chris Ballard.
Okay. I heard Dave from Monona wants an Elon Musk type. So, I think that's a good take.
He wants an Elon Musk type. He doesn't want, maybe he wants Elon. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would rather, I appreciate it, Tony. I would rather get Elon to try to donate $100 million to the football program. I don't need him in charge of the thing. Just, hey, Mr. Musk, could you cut us a check? You can put some Tesla chargers around Camp Randall or whatever. The drunk kids will just kick them over after the game. After Iowa comes in here and, hangs 45 on Luke Fickell's defense again. Put up some Tesla chargers. Maybe a dealership. There's a dealership. Is it off Odana? Somewhere over here on the west side, there's a Tesla dealership. I don't need Elon Musk to run the thing. You can certainly cut the program a check. Yeah, so the search committee is Michael Finley and Chris Ballard, among others. They are not in consideration for the job. I have seen other radio hosts in this market, place across the street, as we say in the biz, throw out the suggestion that maybe Chris Ballard is going to back his way in and get this job. That has been met with laughs by those who closely cover the program. I'm not going to say who. Not Zach. He's been on vacation this week, so I'll throw myself. Grant talked to Zach, and he laughed at it. No, it wasn't Zach. Zach's been on vacation this week. But I have talked to people who cover the team, and they're like, what is with that other radio station saying Chris Ballard's going to Dick Cheney his way into the job? I don't know. But it's not going to be – it will be Chris Ballard nor Dick Cheney. Is Dick Cheney still alive? I guess beside the point. It's not going to be either of them. Jesse Temple going to join us next. Badger Connect. We'll talk about this very thing. Excellent teaser, Tony. Thank you for the call.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Jesse.
Jesse. Hey, Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse. Jesse. Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse. Jesse. Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse Temple, beautiful timing by Tony in Texas to call and say, hey, do you have a name? Who do you think's going to get this Badgers athletic director job? I don't, Tony. I can tell you that it's not going to be Finley or Chris Ballard. But I had a great discussion earlier today with Jesse Temple. And if you're watching on the simulcast, you can see Jesse's handsome face and perfectly groomed hair, as always, for Badger Connect in the camp. Jesse joins us every Wednesday. So here's our conversation from earlier today. Enjoy. Jesse Temple is here. You can follow his work, Badger Connect, the camp with Zach Heilprin, an excellent podcast as well. And recently, over the last week or so, if you want them to tie up spring ball with a nice little bow and give you their takeaways, the Superlatives episode was great. So you can get a kind of a full vibe check on the team going into the summer. But we should start, Jesse, with the athletic director search, because you tweeted out, as many did, the parameters and kind of the details of this search so far. They've opened it up. And I'll ask you what I asked Colton Bartholomew last night. Based on your experience covering college athletics and any experience you can draw from, what has stood out to you about this hiring process, whether it's things you'd expect or things that have maybe surprised you so far?
Methodical, I think, is the word that comes to mind. I know people saw the news of Chris McIntosh stepping away and taking a job with the Big Ten, and then Marcus Sedbury is the interim athletic director, and not much information coming out on what's actually happening. The first time the university made Marcus available to reporters, he didn't have much to say on what the timeline looked like because nobody had any information on it. I'm not going to bemoan that it's the middle of May and this process has just been publicly announced. The goal, as it said in the statement, is to have a new athletic director in place at some point this summer. That seems like a pretty good time to make the move before the school year starts, before all these sports start back up again. And it's an 8-person committee. This is a unique situation because the chancellor, Jennifer Mnuchin, is outgoing. She's moving on and she's going to take over as president of Columbia. And so there's an interim chancellor at a time where there's an interim AD. And that interim chancellor, Eric Wilcox, is in charge of helping to decide who ultimately is the next AD, along with an 8-person committee. So again, I'm not going to get too up in arms about the timing of all of this. I think it was probably intentional that McIntosh walked away when he did to give Wisconsin some time to find somebody before the next school year.
So methodical. I like that framing. That seems to track. Do you think it's a problem that that they will be hiring, I would guess, an athletic director before a chancellor? I had some callers who pointed this out, and it makes sense because you think about the NFL, you want the GM ideally to have their own coach. Do you think that matters, or is it a little different in the college hierarchy?
I suppose in the perfect world, you'd hire from the top and continue to work your way down. The athletic director and the chancellor need to be aligned on certain fronts, one of them being financial resources and how those are allocated in the NIL era. I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world, even if it isn't necessarily ideal, but you'd certainly like to get all of this wrapped up sooner rather than later. And so I'll be interested to see what ultimately happens with the chancellor search. But to me, the AD, very, very big deal to get this in place and soon.
When we're talking about the experience and the credentials of the next athletic director, do you have any non-negotiables? Like, is it someone who has had to been an athletic director before, or somebody with Wisconsin ties? They have to have some sort of a Wisconsin person. Do you think there's anything that is absolutely a non-negotiable in this person?
It's interesting because we've seen how cyclical things are on the football head coaching front, and how if you don't have ties to Wisconsin, specifically in the last decade or so, first with Gary Anderson, now with Luke Fickell, there are some things you just don't understand, and then it takes you so long to understand it that you're kind of behind. And it's a different era now with Luke, and Gary at least went 19-7 in his 2 years. From an AD standpoint, we just saw Chris McIntosh come in. I could think it's safe to say nobody was more familiar with Wisconsin athletics, given that he was a former player, given that he worked in the athletic department under Barry and was the next guy in line. And yet what we'll remember is the decision to hire Luke Fickell in the record 3 years in. And so I don't think it's like a non-negotiable that you have to be from Wisconsin. And the idea that you have an AD or someone who's been an AD already, I mean, that's certainly appealing from my perspective, because it means you understand this landscape. You've dealt with the hard conversations and know what it's like to deal with NIL and all these sports programs. I can see maybe an associate AD or something like that at a major school who's ready to step into that role, but it's probably going to have to be the perfect type of situation. Because at least there, let's say you already are at a Big Ten school and you might not be the number one, but you're the number two. But you got to have experience in this space because there is more on the line now than ever before in terms of financial ramifications. And we know that with football struggling right now, that's the program that needs to pull the rest of the bus along with it. So I think you've certainly got to have some experience in place.
What's the biggest challenge facing the next athletic director, the next Wisconsin specific challenge? So not just what's the hardest part about being an athletic director in the Big Ten in 2026, but specifically being the AD at Wisconsin.
That's a good question. I just feel like there wasn't always the best communication, maybe in the last regime about what was happening. And there were things that didn't need to happen that kind of frustrated fans. And I just think you need somebody who's willing to be, and I get this isn't maybe challenge number one, but as I look at what were some shortcomings, who can be someone who's public facing and can help you understand the decisions that are being made and be transparent. And if you make a mistake, acknowledge that you made a mistake. And, ultimately that AD, if he's responsible for the next football hire, that's probably the most important job. But I think overall, just knowing this landscape, trying to figure out how you raise funds, because I guarantee you're not going to have less money year over year for the foreseeable future. So how do you continue to find avenues to generate that money? Because now we're in an era where that's what you need to field competitive teams.
Is that to say that you don't think Chris McIntosh was maybe the most savvy public operator?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think sometimes if they made him available, it just didn't necessarily come off in the best way. I think certainly he meant well. I know that he loves Wisconsin, but I think if you're looking for transparency and just trying to understand why decisions have been made, sometimes I feel like the fan base felt like they didn't necessarily get that information. And so, look, everybody has different strengths and weaknesses, but I just think that that's got to be really important for someone in a position who can speak for the entire university, that when you put them out there, you're going to feel like you're gaining something and you have a better understanding of the situations at play.
And of course, if they win more, that's probably not the biggest concern. We might not even be talking about it at all, but occasionally you're going to have missteps or bad years, and to have someone in that moment who can step up and be a little bit of a firefighter instead. I don't know that McIntosh was ever a fire starter. I just think he would be made available and we'd walk away thinking, oh, all right. Like, I don't feel better. I don't know that I necessarily feel worse, but that was just kind of the Chris McIntosh experience. This is something that came up on my show last night when callers and I were talking about this, this search and what they're looking for. Is it all about money now, all about the money you can bring in as AD, to the point where, like, old school, I got a feel for sports, I got a feel for people, I can get in a room and shake a coach's hand and look in there? Like, is that stuff becomes so secondary in this version of college sports, where it's literally just like, it's almost like a sales, like a meritocracy? What business can you bring in? How much money can you bring into the athletic department?
I think it's a big part of it. We just have to acknowledge the realities of where college athletics are. But I don't want to diminish the importance of those other things. Like, it still matters having relationships with people. You're still going to have to make huge decisions about who you retain, who you move on from, who you bring in. Those are the decisions that can change the course of an entire athletics program, and in some cases, the department as a whole. I mean, look what's happened here the last few years with football. Now, there are a lot of things at play. NIL has come in, but the football program isn't at a level that it was for the decade before. And that has changed a lot about how people feel, their willingness to buy season tickets. So much is riding on those kinds of decisions. But it is hard not to look at this situation in the NIL era and say, well, all these schools have different budgets. And while we don't know the numbers at other schools or necessarily publicly available numbers at Wisconsin, you continually need more, as I said before. And so you need someone who's got a business savviness that I don't know was the job requirement a couple decades ago, because this didn't exist. I mean, it didn't hurt, certainly, but it was like, I'm a sports guy. I understand what it's like to field a winning team. I mean, Barry Alvarez, the situation he walked into 20 years ago, it's like another universe now. So I think you need a different set of skills, but you also can't forget about the things that mattered before.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because this is something I brought up again on last night's show. Like, what if Chris McIntosh had taken over as the athletic director in the moment that Barry Alvarez took over, when the ship was kind of stable and when, well, the entire format and foundation of the sport wasn't changing, because Chris McIntosh could probably make the point, well, I nailed the women's basketball coach hire. I nailed the men's hockey coach hire. And the Fickle era has not worked. I still think you have lots of people who look back and say, I also would have made that hire. Like that's, I don't know that it was a bad hire. It hasn't worked. I don't know if those two things are separable, but I think Chris McIntosh could maybe make the case. If I was Chris McIntosh, I'd say, well, I know people, I know sports. I've hired some great coaches, but this money thing, like it's just not something that he, and to be fair to him, I think many others in that athletic department in the university were completely unprepared for.
I think a few different things can be true. First of all, I think when there are public relations failures, or like we were talking about before, that frustrates a fan base if they're also frustrated with the lack of wins. Yeah, he made some good hires. Mike Hastings, they're coming off an appearance in the national title game. Robin Pinchton in year one, initially her hire kind of came with a, well, why are you doing this? Her last few years at Missouri didn't go particularly well. And they went 16-18. And that might not sound amazing, but they beat 2 ranked teams in the season for the first time since 2009. And they're trending in a positive direction in year 2. But ultimately, the football move is how McIntosh is going to be remembered regardless of what else happened. And Zach and I have talked about this on the camp. I think you can make a decision that in the moment feels like a slam dunk or a home run, because at the time it was like, whoa, Luke Fickell's one of the hottest coaches in college football. You chose 7 years of head coaching experience over 7 games of head coaching experience when Jim Leonard was in an interim role. And you also are responsible as the AD who made this decision that rocked the boat entirely in a way that hasn't been done in Wisconsin football in a long time for the success or failure of that decision. And 3 years later, it's hard to say that it's been successful. And I get, of course, hindsight is 2020, right? And so we're playing armchair quarterback in year 4, but that's also part of how the world works here. So you can say in the moment, yeah, seemed like a good decision. But if it hasn't worked, you also say you're the responsible for making that decision, even if you couldn't have known 4 years later that you were going to be 10-17 in the Big Ten. It's just how it is.
I want to ask you actually about women's basketball and then your latest Badger Bite, but one football thing here with Jesse Temple, Badger Connect, before we do that. Spring football's done. You and Zach did your superlatives podcast with the camp. Is there any way you can boil down, give me 2 or 3 names or a position group or something where you came away from spring football saying, wow, that really impressed me. I'm really excited to watch that grow and progress when the team reconvenes and when fall camp starts?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think there are individual players that have a standout practice. I don't know that you could say throughout there was one guy who you just went, holy crap, other than at times Ryan Hopkins, who's a freshman quarterback and is not going to play if all goes well, because it means Colton Joseph is performing well. I think there are different position groups that you go, I see the talent. I see that they can be a pretty good unit. I feel pretty good about a lot of the spots defensively, what they were able to replace at cornerback. They brought in 4 transfer portal players, and all of them are going to have a role in addition to returner Jameer Scott. To me, it just comes down to the offensive line and Colton Joseph, man. We've been saying for so long, what's it look like if you have a healthy quarterback for a whole year? I know that he wasn't just dominant every practice, but there are certain things that you can see, the running ability, the strength, the arm talent. If that comes together with an offensive line that can protect him and open some holes, well, now you're talking about a different experience in year 4 under Luke Fickell.
You have a story that caught my eye. I'll admit, for selfish reasons, a women's basketball story about a 4-star in-state recruit from Rice Lake, which is pretty close to where I grew up. That's the conference that I didn't play basketball, but that was the conference that I competed in other sports. Tell me about your excitement with those in the program, because we always complain the men's program, well, we don't get those big-time in-state recruits. Well, the women's team landed one.
Yeah, I think it feels like Robin Pinchton is on a heater here in recruiting for women's basketball, and that includes the transfer portal. But you're asking specifically about Addie Shepley. She's Rice Lake's all-time leading scorer, which is interesting because she's 2 years younger than her older sister, who was the Rice Lake all-time leading scorer. They played together for 2 seasons. If you watch the film, and I have some film in the story at Badger Connect, which is from her sophomore season, I mean, she is so smooth. She's a 3-level scorer. She's 6'3", and it almost seems not fair when she's playing high school competition, the ability to break these defenders down. For her, it's interesting because she's the highest rated high school signee the Badgers have had since 1997. Like, they don't get 4-star talent like this, let alone 4-star talent from the state. I'll give Robin Pinchton credit for this. She's brought in 3 in-state players. That's something that hasn't always been a tried and true method for Wisconsin women's basketball. She just signed a point guard who's been playing for the Belgian national team. And then I think I'd be most excited if I'm a women's basketball fan about the transfer portal class she brought in. She has not 1, but 2 conference players of the year from last season. And she brought in Addie Deal, who played last year at Iowa as a freshman. She was a 5-star McDonald's All-American. And so there's a lot of talent there. And if they can build on what they did last season, I mean, it feels like they can make a real breakthrough here in year 2.
It's funny because I never I played basketball in middle school, but never at like a serious competitive level. And growing up in Wisconsin, like when we would even shoot around in the driveway, like Wisconsin men's basketball always been good. It was always the goal. Like, wouldn't that be cool to go, play for your state? It was never really talked about with the women. And if the program can get to the point where you're pulling big in-state recruits, I think that's cool. It's never really what it's been like this century or in my lifetime. Speaking of in-state recruits, you talked to Darius Hicks, who is the scouting and player personnel director for Wisconsin, and you talked about keeping some of that talent in state, which admittedly they've done a great job with in this 2026 class.
Yeah, that's the latest Badger Bites up right now at Badger Connect. Learned a little bit more about his story. They've kind of had a bit of a rotating door here at that position the last couple of years, but we know how important it is for a football recruiting staff. And he's from Kansas City, was a defensive back in college, got into coaching, and then he got onto the recruiting side and spent the last 3 years at Michigan State. But certainly that in-state recruiting, I said that Robin Pinchton was on a heater. I mean, what they've done for football in 2027 inside the state, we haven't seen that in a long time. They've got 8 players right now committed, including some of the top guys in the state. And now you're seeing they're starting to go outward and get some different guys, including Jack Sorgi at quarterback from Indiana, who's Jim Sorgi's son. So it makes sense to be excited about that. But also, those guys aren't coming for a year, and Luke Fickell and the staff are going to have to win this year in order for that to matter. That's kind of how I feel.
Which I think raises the stakes for this season even more so. It adds an interesting wrinkle for sure. Jesse Temple, find his work, Badger Connect, and the camp with Zach Halpern, an outstanding podcast as well. Thank you for the time, Jesse. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Grant. Talk soon.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisconsin weather doesn't ease into spring. It keeps you guessing. That's why your windows and doors need to handle everything. At Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin, we build for year-round comfort. Get the look you want for the home you love with 0% financing options available. So you can upgrade now and pay over time. Plus, enjoy a free in-home consultation, expert installation, and a 10-year limited warranty. Schedule today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. It's 5/31/2026.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Final segment, Wisco Sports Show. I've just been watching the live stream because I pre-record with Jesse in the afternoon, and I see all these comments. We get this during Bill's show, too, where it's like, what about Mark Murphy for the athletic director of the Badgers? I don't... Is it just because he's a Packers guy, a Wisconsin guy? Was he 71? Like, no, I don't think he's the guy for that. I wanted to ask Jesse, like, are there any precursors? Does this guy have to have done the job before? Does this person need to have a Wisconsin tie? Like, are they selecting a Wisconsin? Does it have to be a Wisconsin person? Because I think if you were to ask a lot of alumni or former players, they'd say it's got to be. They're still bent out of shape about Jim Leonard. It's got to be a Wisconsin guy. Need to understand Wisconsin. Need to be about Wisconsin. I don't know. You could tell me it's someone from the business world. You could tell me it's someone, a number 2 guy at another Big Ten school. Could tell me that it's former Wisconsin players looking to come back. You know what I mean? Like, I really have no concept. So Tony in Texas called in earlier and was like, do you have a list? Do you think someone's a favorite? No, I have no idea. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would have had a better idea because the job was a little bit more cut and dry. It was athletic director, which includes fundraising, but it includes fundraising for like facilities and buildings. Not straight up like, hey, who's going to help us pay these kids? That's an entirely different thing altogether. And I don't know that the job description for that guy is anything similar to the job description for what that job used to be when Barry Alvarez took over. And then when even Chris McIntosh took over right before the sport, fundamentally changed and the sand shifted, quite literally underneath his feet. The job became something completely different. Like, imagine interviewing for a job, training for a job, starting the job, and then the entire job description changes. And no one else at work is prepared to deal with it. And you're just you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying I feel bad for Chris McIntosh. Made a lot of money. It's a big boy job. But Bart texts in on an earlier topic. Dick Cheney passed away in November 2025. Okay, well, cross him off the list then. One of the other radio stations in town suggested Chris Ballard was going to Dick Cheney his way into this job off the search committee. And I'm like, I think Dick Cheney passed away. I never saw the Christian Bale movie. I'm sure it's good. Christian Bale's good. And Christopher Nolan's good, although people seem to have real doubts about this new version of the Odyssey, which, like, Travis Scott's in it. So maybe nothing against Travis Scott other than, like, I don't know. It's just like the greatest story of all time being adapted to film by, like, the greatest director. Maybe not of all time, but pretty close. Like, maybe Travis Scott doesn't need to be acting in that. I don't know anything about film. We'll pick this up tomorrow. 4 podcasts will be up in just a little bit. Thank you for listening. Always. Bye.